Live from the Cactus Creek at Ibri, he is the king of prime time, Ghana's undisputed entertainment laureate, and still the youngest old man in Ghana. Put your hands together, show some love for the indefatigable KSM.
The KSM Show.
Hello, it's good to be here. You know, I keep saying this thing here. I tell you why I love my job. Let me explain why. This is the only job I can go to somebody's office and I have the audacity to invite him to be my guest. Show some love for that, man. Before I let you go office, I invite you, come and be my guest. Today, the general I'm going to talk to, he needs no introduction. I like it when I have to talk about people that I don't have to talk plenty. I just say something small, and you know who I'm talking about. Wait there, I'm not going to say something small. I'm going to sing something small. Do you remember this song? Obiara ni ho, Alan Charmatian, your precious of love. On that note, let me invite my dear friend, my brother, to join me in his office. Show some love for Alan Charmatian. There you go.
Yay! My brother,
good to see you.
We've been brothers for many years.
We'll explain.
Oh yeah, we'll explain. Yeah, we go a long way.
Long way.
He's a great guy.
My brother, that's yours.
Okay.
Folks, Alan Martin in the house. No, I am in this house. I'm in his office. But let's take a run. I'm taking a short commercial break. When we come back, the conversation will begin. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Is it the luxurious rooms? Or the serene green surroundings? Is it the tempting swimming pool? Or the classy conference room? Or the cute gift shop? Maybe it's our chef's array of cooking delights. Whichever way, it's all about Cactus Creek. A most respected hotel. 055 039 5007.
The KSM Show.
My name is Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. I have almost been following the program of KSM for the past 20 years. It's a program I've always been watching carefully. In fact, before he came on Pan-African, he used to be on another station, I can't remember now, where the program had been so interesting. And I will call on all Ghanaians who are very much interested in objectivity and also the history of this country to always watch this program. It's a program that is educative and very, very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Back live from Alan's office, Alan Martin's office. And we're going to have fun, man. Alan, thank you again for inviting me to your office so I have the chance to invite you to be my guest.
My brother, thank you so much. It's been a while.
Yes.
You know, we go many years back.
Yes, yes.
From Kumasi, Accra,
Way back.
corners, different corners. We'll reveal all the secrets.
No. Eventually, we'll tell us so small. But that's why I want to say. I just heard on my way here that you have a vice president, nominated somebody to be a vice president. And
Yes.
Kwame Danso, that's what I heard. It's true?
Owusu Danso,
Owusu Danso, yes.
alias KOD.
Wow.
My brother, the long and short of it is that, I've been in this game for quite some time. And I made a commitment that in the last mile of my political journey, I only want to be a transitional president. Transitional in the sense that I genuinely believe that we need to create a new class of young leaders. Obviously, there's a limit to how active we can be in politics. So it only makes sense that if you are thinking about the country and not about yourself, that you have to understand that within the next 20, 30 years, you need a new group of people. So I've said it, I'm committed absolutely to creating that pathway for younger people. And I was 22 years when I was appointed as a manager in the largest company in Ghana. You've been around, UAC Ghana.
You're 22 years.
22 years, and
sorry to cut you off,
Yes.
but I think in secondary school you entered much earlier. Well, how old were you?
I entered at the Sada College at the age of 9.
Oh my goodness. How old were your mates then?
At the age of, you can believe it.
Mature
People
students.
with beard and mustache. No. So I've always been on the fast track.
Yeah.
But I made that commitment that I need to build that critical mass of young leaders. Because that's the future. But also, if you look at the statistics, it further reinforces that commitment that I have. KSM, in 2020, out of the 17 million registered voters, and listen to this very well, out of the 17 million registered voters in 2020, 10 million of them were aged between 18 and 35. 10 million out of 17 million registered voters were aged between 18 and 35. In fact, if you stretch it from 18 to 45, you're getting to almost 70%. So if you're a grown-up adult, nobody needs to explain to you that our time is up, and they are the people who make a difference. And that's why I'm so confident that by the grace of God, the people who will make me president are the young people. Because look at the numbers.
Yeah.
NDC, MPP, they keep on boasting, we have 45%. They don't have any 45%, I can tell you. I mean, I've been a founding member of MPP. The MPP, and I'm sure it's the same thing with NDC, does not have more than 1 million committed voters. 1 million, they don't have. So the point is that whether you call them floating voters or independent voters or undecided voters, these are the young people. 60 to 70% of the people who vote are in this category.
So you're
And so I decided that if that is the case, if that's my thought process, how do I best reflect that? So put somebody who represents them
that age
as
group,
vice, so that transition already is reflected. And so I said, look. So I look around, I said, look, we underestimate the power of the creative industry. Because if you're talking about young people, the creativity and the innovation is what drives them, and technology. And so I said, look, I need a young man who brings together a number of critical areas that reflect this group of young people that I'm talking about. And so KOD, I've found, he may not represent all the elements, but he represents a significant number of them. He's a lawyer, so he's a professional. But, he's also a musician. He has some great hits to his name. He's a rapper.
He's a rapper. I didn't know that.
Yes. You listen to some of
Will
his.
you be rapping your theme song for me?
If you listen to some of his, you'll be amazed. But incidentally, in Achimota, I had a band. I mean, I was playing bass guitar. I had a band with my friends.
What was the name of the band?
I won't tell you.
You're playing bass.
I was playing bass, and the leader of the band, who was the lead guitarist, were in the same house, Gaggisberg House, and he was a sixth form music student, you know. And so I said, oh, of course, I can also play a little bit of piano, but then I accompanied him on bass. So maybe my vice and myself will go back and
and do some music.
And do some music.
I think you should create your theme song for
Yes.
And I remember all to know. I was thinking Alan Chermatiani. So you are a bass guitarist, KOD is a musician. Are you guys going to do a remix?
We'll do more than a remix.
Oh, you do more?
We'll do more than a remix. But the interesting thing is that I played bass guitar, and he does vocals, and I'm sure he plays one or two other instruments. But what this points to is that both of us have a vision for the creative industry, which I think is very, very important. But you see, the interesting thing about KOD is that first I picked him because he's what I call demonstrably young. Demonstrably young.
Demonstrably, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
at the age of 40,
okay.
you know, demonstrably young.
Yeah.
But he also has a professional background. He's a lawyer, but he's also a political activist.
Yeah.
Political
astute broadcaster as well.
Yes,
yeah.
a broadcast journalist. So he has so many parts, and the creative industry part also comes. So he then would appeal to a cross section of young people.
Yeah.
The young people want to see themselves in the kind of team that they are going to vote for.
That's me a great idea. I think he's going to be my next guest.
That's a good idea.
Yes, I host him. I want to be the first, and this I mean who's to.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. No. I'll get him to be.
Get it? Okay, okay. Show some love, man. But now that I'm here, I want to go back a little bit.
Yes, no problem.
Of course, we're going to be talking about the great transformation plan.
Yeah.
But before we get there are two schools of thought. One is saying, oh, Alan, he's a sore loser. Why did he leave the MPP? And then one too says, no. If the playing field is level and the person loses, they should accept it. But when it's not level and it's been like orchestrated and they lose, then they have the right to leave. They are not a sore loser. Somebody described it as a bold move. I want to hear it from your own mouth.
It's the latter.
It's a latter.
Bold, courageous move. Look, I have my values. I was a founding member of MPP because I shared the values of the founding fathers of the MPP. Remember, the MPP was established in 1992. I was not just a founding member of the party, but I led a group of young, dynamic people called the Young Executive Club. This is at the inception of the party. And I can say with pride that all the big names that you have in the party, below the generation of the Kufos, the Kufuados, they all came through the Young Executive Forum.
You have some of the names?
Kandapa, Minister for National Security. Our former colleague, Kojoba Redu of blessed memory.
They all came through the Young Executives.
Mark Menu, who was former chairman. Kwabne Japan. The Utumfo, Santin Ismaweni, Dr. Say, Mr. Musi Sose Bonsu, Esuo Beni, you know, Dr. Heyman. All the key players, Courage Kwashiga, all these key players, you know, came through the Young Executive. And I was their chairman. So think about it carefully. If in 1992, at the inception of the party, I was the kingpin of this group that really financed the party's activities. We were the financial backbone of the party. It's interesting. Now people can talk, but the headquarters of the party in Kokomlemle was adjacent to the BNI residence, BNI for the BNI officials. So people, and I remember Rawlins's time, people were afraid even to be seen in and around the
Party headquarters.
Those of us who had the muscle, both the financial and the political muscle, we were the ones who were able to go and have meetings in there. We literally furnished the whole headquarters of the MPP at that time. So I led that group of people because I believed in the values of the party. But fast forward, and of course, because I was the leader of the Young Executive, since that time I've been a member of the National Executive Committee at the highest level of the party's decision making. Right from the beginning, across from Darucha to Haruna Seku to Odoi Sykes, name it. And interestingly, I was the youngest member of the negotiating team of the Great Alliance between the CPP and then the MPP. So I've served my time, and I served my time very well. Even in 1996, after we had financed Adubuahin's campaign, that's Young Executive Forum, and Adubuahin didn't seem to have the gravitas to beat Rawlins. In 1996, the Young Executive Forum decided that if we are the ones financing the party, and Adubuahin has not been able to make an impact, we want to put our own man there to contest against Rawlins. And they picked on their leader. So in 1996, the Young Executive put me up to contest against Kofour, against Janisel.
You were the one they picked.
1996. 1996.
Wow.
Because I was their leader, you know, and I had enough gravitas at that time for them to be able to recommend me. And they did so because they knew that at that time, if I contested, I would win the election. Because we were financing the party at that time. But a lot of the old guards, particularly led by Apiameka of blessed memory, talked me, and then Stephen Kreku, of blessed memory, actually talked me into withdrawing to allow the older folks, having been suffering, you know, in the party, for the old party to go. So that's the only reason why I went out of the race in 1996. So fast forward, when in 2007, we had come into government. The present President Nana Akufo-Addo was the foreign minister. I was Minister for Trade and Industry. And remember, before then, I was Ghana's ambassador to the United States. But by 2006, 2007, sitting at the cabinet table, somehow, like 80% of all the cabinet ministers had started launching their campaign. So it got to a time when Kufuor, I think, felt a bit frustrated. And he gave us an ultimatum at one cabinet meeting that campaign. Those of you going around doing underground campaign to become president, to take over from me, is either you go out of my cabinet
and start your campaign.
And if you want to stay, then you aren't going to do politics. I think he felt he was threatening us. He was surprised when, at the next couple of meetings, he had about 10 of the senior cabinet ministers all saying that we're
going to do a campaign.
Yes, we've resigned. So you see, I had credibility, I had standing. Look, from that time, and finally when the 17, including Osafo Mafo, Hakmoso Adjuman, all the champions, the former speaker, Boache Jakun, all of them, Kwame Japan, 17 leaders of the Adokufo, Dr. Adokufo, when finally we went to Legon, all these great guys, it was only the two of us, Nana Akufo-Addo and myself, who had enough votes to go into a second round. So my political capital has never been in doubt. Look at all these names. Many of them got 20, 30, 60.
It's really a two-man race.
Two-man race. And in fact, we were asked to go into a second round. But if you remember, that contest was so robust and heated that the party was almost disintegrating because of these 17 contestants. But God gave me direction at that time when it was announced that Alan Chamatin and Akufo-Addo now will go into the second round, and they would come back as a party in 2 weeks' time for the second round. At that time, I was confident that I would win. But as I said, God knows how to process our path for it. I called for the microphone, and everybody was shocked because at that time, the 15 other contestants had seen and saw their smoothness level. They were all out. It was left with me and Akufo-Addo. So when I called for the microphone, people were shocked. They said, hey, what is this one?
What is this man going to say?
What is he going to say? The two of you are supposed to go to a second round. Then I took the mic and I said, look, just for the interest of the party and to save our party from disintegration, he's my senior brother. Let him take the lead and I'll support him. That's what I said. So when you talk about the supreme sacrifice in any political organization, I doubt none of them, including the current president, would have done that if they were in my position. You've been campaigning for 5 years, you've been able to beat and lead all these great guys, and you have the opportunity within 2 weeks.
And what led to that? Had people consulted you, advised you, back off?
That's what I'm saying.
That was your own thinking
and
decision?
I say it's divine processing. And I know up to now, a lot of my friends who had been with me have never forgiven me. But God's supreme decision is final. You know.
Well, it will occur to you while thinking on the dream or something? But that's what I'm saying, that
anything that happens that defies understanding is a message from God. I mean, that's the only way I could process it. You know, people thought that, I was called by A, B, or C. No. I just took the mic and I made that announcement. So subsequent to that, from 2007, back and forth, I supported Nana Akufo-Addo, then candidate, throughout the country. There is no village in Ghana where Nana Akufo-Addo would go without me. Every part of the country. We were like twins campaigning. You understand? So by 2016, when I was one of the leading members of the campaign team, you know, with the president, and God showered his blessings upon us, and then we won. And then Akufo-Addo became president. I was the first person that he mentioned, even without us going into a conclave to appoint ministers. He mentioned Alan as the first appointment as Minister for Trade and Industry. The very first week.
You were his first appointment.
Yes. But some of the subsequent decisions that were made were completely out of sync with my values and my tradition. So, for example, I bring an idea of one district, one factory. Brilliant idea. Incidentally, this being my brainchild was actually I started it in President Kufuor's regime. Way back in 2004, I created a program called District Industrialization Program, where I said every district, at that time we had 110 districts, every district should have the capacity of developing at least 3 major industrial projects, so that we'll keep our young people in the districts and the rural communities. Before I left to contest in 2007 for the primaries in MPP. I left with 330 business plans, 330 project plans prepared, ready for the private sector to adopt and then take off. 330 business plans, because we had 110 this at that time. Unfortunately, MPP lost, and the NDC had no idea as to how to make use of these business plans. So fast forward, they could not do anything with it. I supported the president, the candidate at that time, until we came into power. Can you believe that after having come into power, the one district, one factory idea, which was going to be the mainstream project, a secretariat was set up in the office of the president to run one district, one factory. I said, over my dead body, you don't play that kind of game with me. I said, look, this is the mainstream activity of the ministry. Have you ever heard businessmen going to office of the president to do what? What is the capacity of the office of the president to run an industrial project? I fought internally on this one.
Excuse me, why do you think it was moved to the office of the president?
Sorry?
Why do you think it was moved?
It was not even moved. They established a parallel office.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
To control the 165. I said, no, it is wrong. It doesn't make sense. How does the office of the president now become the controlling agency for? What capacity do you have in the office of the president to be running an industrial project? We fought over this for 3-4 years. I'm saying this openly because no one can challenge it. Everybody in the party knows about it. I was holding half of it, the office of president. In the final stages, they themselves realized that what they were doing was wrong. And if I had not incubated it myself and had the passion and the capacity to, the results that now the NPP is boasting of, one district, one factory, it would not ever have happened. And I'm saying with pride, KSM, my brother, that when I was leaving office, we had almost 296 projects at different stages of implementation. We had almost about 160,000 jobs created out of, even with the internal, destabilization efforts. It is there, it's an open secret in MPP. You understand? Even with those, look, can you believe that? With all the noise we made about one district, one factory, 2017, first day in office, not even one cedi was allocated to the one district, one factory program. Not even one cedi. If you look at all the flagship programs, free SHS, the least funded project was the one district, one factory.
Because?
Because you are asking me. Why? Why would we do that in a political party? Especially not to somebody who has been a major pillar in the party. But, people may look and see me as a gentleman and things like that. But you don't play that kind of game with me. Look, I've been around, not only in Ghana, in Africa, internationally. Very well respected all over the world. You can't play that kind of game. So, fast forward, in the same government, we are doing this. There was a point in time where, at the beginning, they created a Ministry of Business Development. I went to the president and asked him, you have Ministry of Trade and Industry. What's the purpose of the Ministry of Business Development? You understand me? All these things, had been going on, and I kept my cool because of the love we had for the party. But fast forward, we went back and forth. I created the African Continental Free Trade Area, the single most important project in Africa. That was even outside government.
It was your creation?
To 2013. In fact, when we left government after President Kufuor, the UN Secretary, Under Secretary General for Economic Commission for Abdullah Jani, he actually called me and said, Anan, but if your party did not win, we know your capacity. Please don't just waste it. Come and help Africa. See what we can do to lift trade in Africa. I thought that, there were things that I could do. I have a legal practice, I have my management consulting practice. But then I thought about it because I'm an Africanist at heart. And so then I decided that I'll go to Ethiopia as the director of the African Trade Policy Center. My first project when I stepped in Addis was to make sure that we have a united common market for Africa. Everybody knows, you ask in the UN, and I made sure that the African Union worked with us to make this happen. I mean, I was the chief architect of this. So can you imagine that after all these years, from 2013, I came back, having created this major project. And the way God works is also mysterious. Then we came back into office, and the current president, also asked me now to become the Minister for Trade and Industry. But because I'd created the original design for the African Continental Free Trade Area, it had come back onto my lap. You see how God works. You create something, then you come back to your country,
and you're now
and then
dealing
you are now
with
it's back to you. So then I said that if this is now blossoming, then I'll make sure that the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area comes to Ghana. So I led a vigorous campaign together with my other colleague ministers, Otunfo Asante, Jerry Rawlings, President Kufuor, everybody that I could mobilize, including everybody I could mobilize to fight to get the headquarters of the FCT in Ghana. So KSM, and I could go on and on. Many of the major initiatives during President Kufuor's terms of office, during the Kufuor days, well, I could say with pride that many of them were my creation. Can you even imagine that I introduced a new customs management and trade program at the ports to increase port revenue? In the beginning, with the same kind of very negative attitude, even within our party, and then within the Alan is bringing this new initiative, it's not going to work. It was called Unipass. I stood my ground and I said, this is the right thing. We are losing so much money in it. So I stood my ground, we introduced it, and then the very first 3 months of introducing this new Unipass technology, very first 3 months, within a period of 3 months, even with all the negative propaganda, we made almost 3 billion cedis more than what had been done before. This came, let's say, 2019. I think we had about 13 billion revenue from the post, 2019. The program that I'm talking about was introduced in even during COVID time. Can you imagine that from 2020 at 13 billion to last year, 2023, our port revenue, moved from 19 to 32 billion just through the efforts of what I introduced. 32 billion. So, I paid my dues. So when it came to the fact that now we have served President Kufuor, now it's time to get into a new path for the party. And I realized that exactly as you said, that the whole party machinery, the whole government machinery had been strategically and deliberately skewed to ensure that one person becomes president. I said, no, I don't play that kind of game. You understand me? Create a level playing field and let everybody contest.
Was it a feeling of betrayal? Did you feel betrayed?
Sorry?
Or just at a point where you realized that it's been skewed
Yes.
For what? Did you feel betrayed?
Yeah, no, but the point is that I knew that with all that has been going on over the years, Alan has always been a target. And the part of the mistake they were making was because somehow they thought that Alan was a creation of President Kufuor. You see, right from that has always been that. And I keep on to ask President Kufuor himself. I was the first person he appointed as minister. I refused when he came into office in 2001 because I had my own international standing even before President Kufuor became president. You understand me?
I understand.
So all this backbiting and negative attitude has stayed up to this date. It's all the creation of some of the people in NPP, apart from what the NDC too was doing. You understand me? So I said that no. If you want to make somebody the leader of the party without giving us anybody the fair chance, go ahead. I'll leave. I'll leave. I don't need. I mean, I've done what I can, but I do not condone this kind of, you know. So that's why I left. You see, I'm only telling you this because you asked me.
Yes.
But a lot of people, somehow, Ghanaians buy into negative propaganda. The party has made him big. The party has made me big. Do they know who Alan was before MPP even came into that I should be grateful to the party? I should be grateful to the party. Did they know where I came from? Who should be grateful to whom?
On that note, folks,
yes.
I take a short commercial break because I hit the back. Let us pause for a short commercial break.
You brought yourself.
I brought myself. Short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Is it the luxurious rooms? Or the serene green surroundings? Is it the tempting swimming pool? Or the classy conference room? Or the cute gift shop? Maybe it's our chef's array of cooking delights. Whichever way, it's all about Cactus Creek. A most respected hotel. 055 039 5007.
The KSM Show.
My name is Yabwabin Asamoah, Esquire. I'm a lawyer, and I'm also Honorable, former MP for Adentan. I have known KSM for several years, and the most memorable years for me was when we used to go to the theater. He may have forgotten, Christ the King. That is when the show was about the returnee diaspora. And I haven't stopped watching. It's even better now. It understands Ghana. It tells you about Ghana. Keep watching the KSM show. You will learn everything about your heritage and your future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're back. And I'm here with my brother, the Honorable Alan Chamating. And just before the commercial break, you know, I had gone ahead and asked him this question are you a sore loser? Why did you not stay in? And he actually had to go into a bit of history to educate me, and I'm sure many of you as well. So Alan, we are back. So
then I decided that, look, I would exit. Let them take their party. If you cannot be preaching democracy and you in your own party. Look, there was a time I said the integrity of any election, whether internal or external, starts with the electoral register. I mean, so we have what we call the delegates roster. You know, that's what is used to prepare for these primaries. I knew this had been flogged right from the beginning, all created to make sure that somebody has an advantage. So I said, look, no, it is not right. Let's have a clean register. I don't mind. I'm a fighter. I've been fighting, and that's why I gave you all this background. The people who are making noise in MPP now, when it mattered and we went into an election, where were they? So I've been a fighter. And I said, no, let's clean up the register. I paid 500,000 Ghana cedis, 500,000 Ghana cedis.
To have it cleaned
to the party. I said, no, yes, make sure that I'll make that contribution. Just clean it. I wrote to the national leadership executives. I didn't even have the benefit of a response.
Was it cleaned up?
How could it have been cleaned up? It was all part of the mafia operation. You understand? It was never cleaned up. Everybody knows this. The reason why I didn't talk about those things that, you see, you don't wash your dirty linen in public. That's not how I was trained. And that's not how the MPP itself was founded. But the MPP, which I founded, I helped to found, has no resemblance to the MPP now. I tell you, it has no resemblance. They lost the values, everything. You know. So I said, look, okay, if that's the way you want to operate, you go ahead. And then I came out. So if somebody who does not understand what has gone on would say that I'm a sore loser, it's up to them.
And not only that, the part of the things that were being said was that you have come out, this demolition course. So why is it demolition course? Because of what happened, your main aim to make sure that Bawumia doesn't go anywhere. So that's all you were interested in.
They claim that, oh, Alan's only interest is to destroy the party. And that he doesn't even want to become a kingmaker.
Yes.
That's why I gave you the historical context. If in 1996, I was a prime contestant to run against Kofor and Dubois and the rest, you know, and I withdrew on the advice of some old people in the party. You cannot tell me. This is from 96. I made the same sacrifice in 2007 that I talked about. So it is, yes, if I'm a politician and I'm ambitious, is there anything wrong with that?
No.
Because I have the experience, the exposure, the vision, and the integrity to lead this country. And so if I decided that I was going to contest for it, and they were going to create an uneven playing field, yes, I had every right to come out. There are more people who are dissatisfied in the MPP than you know. I can tell you. So the long and short of it was that I'm out. I'm out of here. You know, you're out of here. That's typical. I'm out of here. You know,
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. You can say whatever you want to.
Well. At that point, when you said you were out of here, at the point when you announced that you're breaking, had you conceived then that we're going to start this movement for change, or that came later after you left?
Once I came out, you know, God has blessed me with what I call strategic intuition. You know what strategic intuition is? Is the other side of artificial intelligence. It is the other side of
artificial intelligence.
But human, yes, that's what strategic intuition. Because after all, what is artificial intelligence? It's able to put things together and generate, information. If you have strategic intuition, things come to you from different angles because of your experience, exposure. And so very quickly you can react. So God has blessed me with strategic intuition. So as soon as I went out on a matter of principle, but as soon as I went out, I said, look, I'm fighting for a cause. If the NPP is not a vehicle to be used, I'm not a coward. I must still continue to fight for that cause. But if I'm going to continue to fight for that cause, I don't create another political party. I have to create a movement, because a political movement is created to fight for a cause. My interest was to put Ghana above parties. You get me? To put the interest of Ghana above partisan interests. To put people above politics. So these were the driving, forces. And for me, there was clarity that no, if I've come out, I'll come out and I will form a movement and contest on my own. And if I'm going to contest, what is going to drive your narrative? So it brought me now into, so now you have a movement. What is the basis for that movement? Number one, we have to go beyond the duopoly. That was the first thing. That if two parties, NDC and NPP, for 32 years in power, have landed us into an economic crisis, then it means that there's no value in repeating the duopoly. That was number two. The second was that the duopoly had created so much division within our body politic. Everything in Ghana now has been politicized between NDC and NPP. Things that even have nothing to do with political color, now it's NDC, NPP. So that division is not sustainable. Number three, this winner takes all syndrome. Look, it's like musical chairs. People are those who keep on talking NPP, NDC. It is not about change in leadership, it's about change in parties. That's all they are doing for. Winner takes all. NDC comes into power right now, it's going to be the same thing like NPP has done. If you are not part of the party, you don't have a place in government. That's not sustainable. Number four, it was also clear that the lack of continuity in government projects is all emanating from this duopoly. NPP comes to power, everything that NDC has done, they have to reverse it. NDC comes into power, everything that NPP has done, they have to reverse it. What kind of politics is that? So that was another reason. Another reason was that listening to a lot of average Ghanaians, it's clear that they are tied with manifestos, because manifestos are they are just a catalog of promises. And the two parties are doing the same thing. And it's actually strange that Ghanaians are buying into this same thing. After 32 years of deceit, Ghanaians are being led to slaughter by these two parties with the same kind of promises. This is what is happening. So I said, no. What I hear Ghanaians look for is that they want to move beyond manifesto. They want a real plan. If you make a promise, I will introduce phrases. What is your plan? How much is it going to cost? Blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of thing that they are looking for. So I said, no. We need to move beyond manifestos and have a national development plan. But it went beyond that. I also heard Ghanaians saying that no, part of the problems we have in governance is the lack of constitutional reform. We've been talking about constitutional reforms to the 1992 Constitution for so many decades. Yeah. You need a new leader who would advance those constitutional reforms. That's the seventh one. Then the eighth one was that, look, if all these things are going to drive my interest, then the mentality and attitude of Ghanaians have to change. Because if the mindset and attitude of Ghanaians don't change, then all the things that I'm talking about will not occur. So then that formed the basis for introducing the movement. Those were the basic principles.
I want you to clarify. So this is a movement and not a party.
Yes, it is a political movement, not a party. But it will transition into
a party.
A political, because you are fighting for a cause. Once you get into government, of course, you need a formal organization to make that. So a lot of people ask, so if it's a movement, what will happen? It's a movement because you are fighting for a cause. You're going into an organization, this is a movement to win power. Once you win power, it becomes a formal entity. And whether you call it a political party, but basically you formalize it into a political organization.
Okay.
You know.
What I also picked up on, yeah.
And then the last point also
Go
was
ahead.
that I heard Ghanaians talking about they want a unified Ghana. They want a government of national unity. Why are the best talents in Ghana outside government? Why? Why is KSM not the minister for the creative industry, for tourism, with all your experience? So if you are not frontline politician, you have no place in government, and it is wrong. So I was also then encouraged that if Alan becomes president, I will introduce, for the first time in the history of Ghana, a government of national unity. NDC, NPP, CPP, other political parties, but other non-political entities. Our traditional rulers, our religious leaders, faith-based organizations, the business community, academia, civil society. This should be the first truly representative, inclusive government in Ghana. That's the only way we can bring progress and prosperity into Ghana. You see what is happening in Kenya? You see what is happening in Nigeria? Should we wait for chaos to occur before we start talking about government of national unity? I have been preaching government of national unity. You see, now South Africa, they are talking government of national unity. Nigeria, talking government of national unity. Kenya. So maybe I'm always ahead of my times.
Speaking of the movement, the party and everything, because I've noticed that all the parties have come up with their manifestos.
Yes.
Manifestos are time bound, like for the next 4 years I'll be in part, this is my manifesto, I'll do this and that. And the movement for change has developed a great transformational plan, and it is not a manifesto. And what I noticed is that when you talk about the transformation plan, you're looking at 8 to 10 years plus kind of thing.
Yes.
So my question first is that what this transformational plan is not something that's just a short-term thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a long-term thing.
It's a long term. And interestingly, I established the movement. And then I started interacting with my political friends. And many of them were talking about the same thing, about all the 7, 8 pillars I have just outlined. So they decided on their own, independent of each other, 10 different, agencies, parties decided to come together and join the movement for change. And so then we all agreed to form the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, because all of us believed in the same core principles that I've just outlined. Now, they very much also believed in transformation. So once we came together as the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, or the Butterfly Alliance, then they endorsed the great transformational plan that I've been talking. And like you said, a promise does not deliver substance unless you show how it's going to be done. And that is why the great transformational plan is one of the most comprehensive national development programs that you could have. And if you have the chance, my brother, to read it, it's such a beautiful doc, because the policy prescriptions that are outlined there are simple, concise, and it is the basis for action. You see, because you can make a promise which does not provide a guide to action. And the technical definition of a policy, the technical definition of policy is that it is a guide to action. That's what a policy is.
A guide to action.
A guide to action. So if you have the right policy, then it will provide a guide to action. And that is what this great transformational plan is. And to show you how God has blessed this, if you now interrogated artificial intelligence, what is the great transformational plan? It will point to Alan Chamatin's document.
Wow.
So the branding of it and everything is not just an innovation in Ghana, but for the whole of the African continent. And I would highly recommend it to you, my brother, and to all of Ghana. This is the deal. This is the game changer. This is the real deal for Ghana. And you know why the symbol of the movement is the butterfly?
No, I was going to ask.
The butterfly is the most representative symbol of transformation. You know how a butterfly starts? You've done a little bit caterpillar, cocoon, and then finally butterfly. So if you see where it starts from and where it ends as a butterfly, there could be no better testimony or reflection of what transformation is. Change is not transformation. A quantum change or significant change is transformation. So that's what. So if you look at where the butterfly starts from and where it ends as a butterfly, it is a significant. It's a complete transformation. When you talk about transformation, it is a significant change in the substance and nature of a particular entity. So if we are talking about a great transformation, it means that if you take Ghana now and you take Ghana in 10 years' time, you will not even be able to compare. So I'm going to launch, if Alan becomes president, when Alan becomes president, by the grace of God, inshallah, 2025 to 2031, that will be the decade of transformation of Ghana. You will never go back. And you cannot even compare Ghana in 2025 to Ghana in 2035. And it's all here.
It's all in the,
That's
in
what
the GTP.
The GTP. And you see, if you look at it, it says, look, the Great Transformation Plan, listen to it well. From stability to growth to resilience and to prosperity. From stability to growth to resilience to prosperity. Why this trajectory? Because we are in a period of instability. We don't need to debate that. It's quite clear. So we are in a period of instability. This GTP is going to move us from instability first to stability. And then on the back of the stability will come growth. But the growth is not enough. If the growth is not sustained, if the growth is not resilient, then you are susceptible to shocks. This is what happened to Ghana. We thought we were growing, but our growth was not resilient. So when there were external shocks, we went back to instability. This is exactly what has happened. Because our growth, which MPP was boasting about, was not resilient. And if it's not resilient, then any external shock will take you back to instability. So this GTP is saying that never again will we go back to instability, because we'll move from instability to stability to growth and then to resilience. I say Sikania, it means that you become so wealthy that the issue of poverty can never arise. You take Elon Musk and now Mark Zuckerberg. You are worth $200 billion.
Yeah.
$200 billion. No, you see, and this whole GTP is saying that government has no business in trying to run an economy. provide support to the private sector. They are the ones who create prosperity, not government. Government can never create prosperity. It is the business sector that is why this great transformational plan is about building an enterprise economy, an economy driven by business, by the private sector, an economy that will create jobs and create opportunities for young people and for all kinds of, for men, women. So this is the real deal. This is the game changer. And not the manifesto.
My brother, what kind of time frame do you see? I knew you've listed it all beautifully. You know, stability, to resilience, to the growth and everything.
Yes.
Say you have won the presidency, you have been sworn in.
Yes.
How much time are we giving you? Are we to expect signs of these things within the next?
Within a period of 3 years, significant signs would occur.
3 years.
Within 3 years, significant signs would occur. Then by 5 years, the resilience then kicks in. But then the real, I would say, prosperity, which is basically that Ghana never would go back, then also kicks in from year 5 to year. So if anybody tells you, like we have now in our so-called National Development Plan, they are talking about 2050, they don't know what they are talking about. This country, with this GDP, 3 to 5 years, you see the transformation.
To 20 years is too long.
Don't. You see, that's why I'm saying that if you look at the GDP, the kind of interventions that would occur within 3 years, you know that when you start talking about look at China. China, remember, was one of the poorest countries with their population. It took one man, Deng Xiaoping, as late as 1989. Remember when did Rawlings come onto the political scene? 1979. Yeah. Now, it took China only from 1999, led by a revolutionary, transformational leader. Because that's the difference. It's all about leadership. Don't let anybody confuse you. It is not about our natural resource. It's not about Ghanaians. It's about leadership. And when the transformational leader came into China in 1989, China has never looked back. When Lee Kuan Yew came onto the scene in Singapore, Singapore has never looked back. So what Ghana needs now is a transformational leader. A leader who has a big vision, a leader who is competent, a leader who has execution capacity. Because if you can dream and you cannot execute, that is a major problem.
Yeah.
But above all, a leader who has integrity. If you don't have integrity, your vision cannot be realized. And so we are looking at 3 to 5 years to see massive leapfrogging in Ghana. And everything, all the components are there, from industry to agriculture to tourism to health to education to resource management.
They're all in there.
They're all in there.
Just so love, man. One thing you said that struck me was how, if the mindset is not changed, how all of this will not amount to what you want it to be.
Yes.
And this question of changing the mindset,
Yeah.
my brother Alan, where do we start?
Where do you start?
That's what
Master, that's what they say. But you see, cluster 6, I told you there are 6 clusters to the GDP. Cluster 1 is the economy. Because without the economy, nothing will move. Cluster 2 is governance. That's where corruption, that's public sector reform, all those, that's where they come in. But it goes beyond the 2. Cluster 3 is infrastructure development. If you don't have good quality infrastructure, you cannot have an economy that will thrive. But then immediately you realize that you also need to focus on the social services sector, health, education, sports. So that's cluster 4. Then you have to think about your environment. Because if all these things are happening and you are destroying your environment like we are now, and you are destroying your natural resources that we are doing now, then you have a problem. So that's cluster 5. Cluster 6 is the real game changer. It says the behavioral and mindset change cluster. And that is why that is that, because without that, nothing is going to happen. And what we mean, like you said, what is that? Mindset change. 1, respect for law and order. No, but but that is not the kind of attitude that you can sustain if you want to develop. Look, in Ghana, nobody wants to pay tax. But if you go to the United States of America, I know you know that. On the 15th of April, wherever you are in the world, if you don't file your tax on the 15th of April, you go to jail. So 15th of April is a landmark calendar event on everybody's calendar. You don't file your tax, you go to jail. So here, whether you file your taxes or not, nobody cares. So there's no respect for law and order. Then it says attitude to work. Because it's rain, I cannot come to work.
Let me tell you a quick story. This is just by the way.
Okay.
When I came from the US, I spent and I was all this work. And I remember it rained. I got to the office. Oh, nobody was there. I waited, so I called somebody. Said, Ben, are you coming? I said, oh, and then hold the insurance. Obviously, you don't know. It didn't rain at your.
Because it has rain.
But it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. But
it's not just the lack of respect for law and order. Attitude to work. The arrogance of power. Look at the arrogance of politicians. Small boys who have not done any work in life before because they have political power. Look at the arrogance of power. Even the old ones who should know better. Look at the arrogance of because they are politicians. Then patriotism. We've lost our patriotic values. Completely. At first, you walk anywhere in the world, you feel proud that you're a Ghanaian. You are patriotic. Now, people are talking about NDC, MPP. They've forgotten about Ghana. Today, people are still talking NDC, MPP.
Yeah.
After all these years, Ghanaians are talking NDC, MPP. Are you not learning? Are you not learning?
Yeah.
Is it about Ghana or is it about NDC or MPP?
Yeah. Not to cut you off, I think what really inspires me about the From Stone movement is this thing here. Ghana shall rise again.
Ghana will rise again.
Will rise again.
Because this is what is the outcome. You see, because men bow down to the rising sun and not to sunset. Listen to this guy. Men bow down to the rising sun, not to sunset. NDC and NPP, they are declining parties. There's no future. So if you bow down to the sunset, which is both NDC and NPP, then you have yourself to blame. But you have to now look at the butterfly, which says Ghana will rise again. That should be your aspiration, because that's what he's saying. Be part of a movement that is talking about Ghana rising again, and not to NDC and NPP that are in decline. Just, we are now talking about who is more corrupt.
Now someone who politicians only.
Yes.
You polluted more than us.
The number of politicians doing galamsey, you have no idea.
Yeah. And I'm glad you've landed on galamsey. Now that you have this GTP plan about resurrecting Ghana, Ghana rising again, what is your strategy should I say, your divine strategy towards fighting this galamsey menace, because it's destroying the very fabric of our nation.
And I'm so happy that the threat associated with galamsey has now been escalated within the past 2-3 weeks, 1 month.
Yeah.
Number one, how did we get here? How did we get here? Because galamsey, by definition, is illegal mining. That is what galamsey is. Galamsey is illegal mining. So how did it come that people don't have a license to mine and they are mining? The Minerals Commissioner, has anybody sat down to understand how come they have given licenses to individuals who are actually the agents for galamsey? Because he has a license, you know.
Yeah.
But instead of him to do the right thing, he is not investing in exploration and then mining. He has the right, and then he finds young boys, you know, and then because he has the right, he has carved parts of what is his own territory for people to mine. That is the starting point. The second point is that these young people, you can't blame them. When you go into other rural communities, their main occupation is farming. In these cases, their main occupation is mining. People have been mining so many years back. The difference now is that it is in people who are ready are people in key positions, political positions, where they use the authority to get mining licenses. And instead of them to do proper exploration, because if you have a license, before the license, you must demonstrate that you're going to use proper environmental practices for you to...
And not destroy the environment and the water bodies and everything.
Yes. So it means that now you have everybody involved. But thirdly, we are also not enforcing legislation, because it is clear that you cannot mine in forest reserves. A lack of discipline, the attitude. You cannot mine in forest reserves. You cannot mine in water bodies. So it is a major indictment. And not only MPP, even NDC. Because people who have an interest in galamsey, you have no idea. And so I have said that, look, when it comes to mining in river bodies, it is complete taboo.
What would you do to stop it? Because...
Yeah, but the point is that, as I said, you cannot mine in a river body. That's the point. You see, because if you allow some group of people with maybe a license that you find that they can mine in the river body, then that is where... So you make sure that you enforce legislation, and listen to me carefully, that's the difference. If there's a taboo against mining in river bodies, then it is completely abolished. Completely abolished. There is no room for anybody to be given any chance, opportunity to mine. Because that's where the destruction of the river bodies come from. It doesn't mean that you cannot mine, but not in river bodies. Number two, forest reserves. Because the same Minerals Commission and Forestry Commission are giving licensing rights, either forestry rights or mining rights, to people to mine. So that is also complete no. The two, forest reserves and then river bodies. Because once you create an opportunity that some people can do it, then you are in trouble.
It's an open door.
Now the third one is, so what do we do with the young people who are opening up these kits? Because frankly, all these people have forced themselves onto the land because this is their business now. So to deal with those ones, you cannot wish them away. they will always remain on the land. So the solution that the GTP is providing is that you abolish completely mining in forest reserves, abolish completely mining in river bodies. But then when it comes to what is currently widespread, which is, digging, trenches and things like that, but we mobilize all the young people currently engaged in mining and then create corporate entities for them. Mining companies that they would own. Mining companies that they would own. And then make sure that you give them the seed funding to procure all the equipment, proper equipment, including excavators, payloaders, for those youth-owned mining companies. And then also make sure that you train and build their capacity in environmentally sustainable mining practices. So it is not just giving them equipment on a work and pay basis. You are also now building their capacity in environmentally sustainable practices. Right now, there's no capacity because they are hiding. You understand? But this is a proper process of building that capacity. And last but not the least, once you've done that, then you give them the licensing rights so that now their own companies will have the license and they don't have to feed off the licenses of politicians who have gotten their licenses from the Minerals Commission. I hope you get what I'm saying. So you have complete abolition of mining in forest reserves, in water bodies. Then where you have on land any other place, you make sure you cannot drive these young people away. We have a responsibility as a government to make sure that we help them to be properly organized. And that's where it comes from. If they have seed funding for equipment on a work and pay basis, they have the skills and capacity to use environmentally sustainable practices. And basically that comes also with working capital. And they also have the working capital to do what they are supposed to do. And then they have licensing rights so that it is no longer illegal. This is what you need, not just community. If you just say community mining, what does that mean? But government has to proactively support these young people. I can tell you, if Alan becomes president, because I have already implemented these models in the area of industrialization, in the area of agriculture, youth-owned mining companies. And we create management teams, because they may not necessarily have the management expertise. We create management teams that would help them manage these companies. So they will now become owners of their own companies.
No, all this sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering whether, well, I guess it goes back to the mindset. With the current state of thinking, this is like structured.
Yeah.
Ghanaians want to get into things and just do it.
Yes, yeah.
Are there any punitive measures, consequences if you dare mine in water?
Yes.
Stuff like that. What?
But that's the sanction that I'm talking about. Because the current sanctions regime is not a deterrent to anybody. You get me? So it is a nature of because if you say, under no circumstances should anybody mine in the forest reserve, then it means that it goes with the severest punishment. Whether it is, a lifetime imprisonment. You see, but this is not a joke.
There are no consequences.
If there are no consequences. If you are found to mine in any, it is automatic. If it's lifetime imprisonment, is there. You go into the forest reserve, that it doesn't matter who you are. That's the kind of sanction regime. Because you shouldn't give any opportunity. That's how you deal with those. Because, you see, it is not just the mining that people have an aversion to. It's mining in water bodies and forest reserves. Those are the two. That's why I say that one is a complete no. And the sanctions regime is such that, Ghanaians, it has to be the severest punishment. But 10 years, 15 years, fine. They would rather do it and go and spend 15 years and come.
Yeah.
If it's to the extent of imposing lifetime imprisonment, they will sit up. The only thing people will say is, if it's a death penalty, then it becomes a national issue. They have to think about it. You understand me? But the most, or let's say, the severest punishment, which would be a deterrent. It has to be, but what they were doing previously in seizing excavators, what kind of policy is that?
And burning them.
And burning them, yes. So that is not a deterrent. The deterrent is what I'm talking about.
You have spoken. Now I said in community, then it won't stop. So I beg you. I have a few minutes left.
Okay.
But let's say you have won the presidency and you are delivering your first speech to Ghana for, say, now we are here, or movement, the change is here, Ghana is going to rise again. I just want to listen to the first 2-3 sentences that you're going to tell the people of Ghana. And I want you to, that's this camera here, and look right here and tell the people of Ghana who are watching you now what your first few words will be.
Fellow countrymen and women, I would like first to extend my most profound gratitude to all of you Ghanaians, young, old, rich, poor, men, women, for having this trust and confidence in voting for me to be your president. I'd like to thank the Almighty God for preserving me through this very long journey. And I want to make a commitment to the Almighty God that I will be a Christ-like leader. But fellow countrymen and women, you voted me as your president. I can tell you that it is about leadership. It's about leadership, and I'm going to put Ghana above politics. I'm going to put people above politics, and I'm going to inspire a new mindset change within our country. And I can assure you that Ghana will rise again.
Show some love, man. Show some love. And I tell you, man, this Ghana shall rise again kills me. Not literally, more dear, but we have to. We don't have any option but for this country to rise again. So I'm going to sign off, but I'm so happy to be the presence of my brother. We didn't tell the history between us, but we don't know. But my brother, I'll have you sign up for me today in the words that I always use when I'm signing off, and it is...
We are out of here!
The KSM Show.